I'm super excited to welcome our speaker today, which is Tolulope Ayeni. If you haven't had a chance to see her speak before at one of the many events and things like that she's done, Tolulope leads an international team of e-commerce product managers, creating digital products for e-commerce, SaaS, web, mobile, and ERP across various sectors. She's well known as a product mentor internationally, a speaker on various product management topics, including product leadership. We've seen her talk at events such as Mind the Product and many other places around product school and such like that. She's a great instructor as well, facilitating product-led workshops in business and engineering tools, and lives and works in Paris, France. So with that, we're going to welcome Tolulope on screen, and she's going to take over and dive into sharing things today. Welcome.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you. I mean, great introduction. I think I might not need my introduction slide anymore.
You can jump into that. Go right ahead. I'll let you be.
No, that's really great. Thank you so much, and welcome, guys. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to be having I'm going to be having this talk, but I would appreciate if you have any questions, any comments, feel free to do that, write that in the chat. I would read that from time to time so that I can tailor whatever I say to what you're saying to. So please feel free. So we're gonna go right into it. All right. So today we're going to be talking about the art of asking why. And actually, before I go ahead, I just wanted to put a disclaimer out there. All the third ideas that I'm expressing right now, they are not sponsored by my employer, okay? So that's just a quick disclaimer. And before I go ahead into the presentation, I would like to know what roles that you currently hold today. What is your current title? And so I have this QR code up here. I will also send you a link in the chat. So please feel free to answer the questions. Okay, so what I just want to know is, what is your current role today, so that I can also know how to relate with you. Okay, good. All right, I can see a lot of people voting. Awesome. So perfect. VP product, product manager, product designer, director of products, product ops, UX designer, senior product manager, curriculum leader. Okay, all right. So basically, most of you are product managers. Most people are in the product roles, and we have some designers and other product ops positions. All right, thank you so much for sharing that. You can still go ahead and continue to share. So we will go back to today. Thank you. Good, good, good. All right, so we will go ahead and like I was saying, I would not look at this because Scott already pretty much introduced me correctly. So thank you very much for that. So today we're going to be talking about the art of asking why, and we're going to start with 3 facts about asking why. First thing is, asking why is natural. Asking why is natural. I think some of you might say, maybe, are you sure? Well, if you do not agree with me, how about you ask your 3-year-old nephew, son, daughter, kid that you might find even on the way in the park, for example. They will ask you why for every little thing. Why is the sky blue? Why does the moon come out only at night? Why? And you have to answer them. This is because it's a natural instinct. It's natural for human beings to ask why. And what these kids are doing when they're asking why is simply they want to know. They want to know why things are happening, and they want to have that information so that it can inform their thought processes. So first thing you need to know, asking why is natural. Now, second thing is, asking why is powerful. You know, the story is told of a king who, of course, got married, had his queen, and unfortunately the queen passed away. And you know, before the queen passed away, he did not have an heir to the throne. And so he was devastated because, there was no one to take over his throne after he passes away. And unfortunately for him, he just didn't feel like remarrying, didn't feel like marrying again. And so he decided, you know what, I need to find somebody to take after me. So I'm going to find somebody from my community, from my kingdom, from my empire. And so he sent out, he was just wondering, what would he do? How would he get this person? And so he was walking on his feet on the field one day, and he found a sinkhole. And he was like, what would I do with this sinkhole? And then he had an idea. He said, you know what? I'm going to actually call everyone from my empire and ask them what I should do with a sinkhole. And anyone, the person that gets, the best idea will be the same person that I would give my throne to after I pass away. And so he called people, and they came and they started giving all sort of ideas. Men, big men would say, why don't you build a bridge across it? Or, why don't you cover it up? Or, why don't you dig it up? And so people had so many answers until one boy came and said, excuse me, why do anything in the first place? Why? Why do anything? Why do you want to do something to the sinkhole? And then he looked and said, oh, okay, you're actually the only one that has asked me to understand the motive behind this gathering, the motive behind what I'm asking you to do. And so he, of course, gave his kingdom to this man. I'm not saying this is going to work every time, okay? but what is important to understand here is that the boy that asked why, wanted to understand the motive behind the king's request so that he could propose the right solution. And he said that if I don't understand why you're trying to do something to this, how will I be able to propose the right solution to you? So this is why asking why is so powerful, so that we will be sure that we're solving the right problem. All right, so asking why is powerful. Asking why sparks innovation. I saw some people coming from Belgium. I'm not going to say that Belgium is the same as the Netherlands, but you guys are just neighbors, and you're also my neighbor. There was an entrepreneur, actually the founder of this company called Lopifit. What he asked himself one day is, why can't I use my treadmill outside? Because the story behind it is that he, of course, if you know the Netherlands, you know that most people go out by bike, they ride their bikes every day. The thing is, for this particular man, he would have loved to ride his bike, but he thought that he was always sweating once he gets to the office. And so he said, I'm going to take my car instead. So he takes his car to work. The problem is that, he feels that he's, gaining weight because he's not exercising as much. And so he's like, I want to be able to go to work, exercise at the same time, and also, use my treadmill. But I use my treadmill, I have to use my treadmill, in this in the gym. But why can't I use it outside? And so he had this idea to create. I don't know if the sound is shared. Hopefully, it is. So if you can see, I hope you can hear the sound, but as you can see, he created this bike that would allow people to basically ride to work, but not really ride like a normal bicycle, but actually do their treadmill exercises while they ride to work, solving two problems. First of all, making sure that he was losing weight. Secondly, making sure that he was not sweating by the time he got to work, because this is not the same as the kind of pedaling that you have to do when you're riding a normal bicycle. This started from asking simply, why can't I, or why can I? So when we ask such questions, it will help to create innovations, spark innovation. I'm not saying that is the only thing. It will help to start you thinking about how you can make things better. Okay, now, what are the 3 key reasons why you should ask why as a product manager? First, asking why helps you to get data to find the right problem. We already looked at that when I was talking about the story of the king and the boy. And what does that really mean? It means that it will help you to understand your user's behavior. When you ask questions with why, you're asking, why are users, for example, not paying for your product? Why are users dropping off from this page? Why are users using a competitor's product and not mine? Why are users behaving the way they're doing? Why are they bouncing from this page? Why are they not using this particular feature? You asking all of these questions will push you to go and understand more why the users behave in the way they're behaving, and you will get more data to understand what problem you really need to solve. And you will also understand the user's pain points. For example, why are they rating your product low? When you go to the app store, sometimes you have a lot of complaints, you have a lot of reviews where users are not satisfied with what the app is providing. And so you want to understand, why are they not satisfied? Why are they spending hours on a particular task, a particular thing that they have to do on your app or on your product? Why are they not using a particular feature, or why are they even using one feature other than the other? And why are they not finding what they're looking for, or how, or why are they finding what they're looking for? I had an experience at one point when I was a product manager. We had some of a salesperson came and said, our customer would like to be able to download massive files, massive files, and with specific formats, and we have to do it, and it has to be done. We have to have a feature that would allow us to do it. The first thing we did was, oh, okay, good, that's a very good idea. How about we check how much it's going to cost? And then for those of you that are in an agile environment, the architects and developers came back and said, oh, it's going to cost us about 100 points. And we're like, okay, 100 points, that's quite a lot to just allow users to upload files. And after trying to explain what exactly we were looking for, they were like, yeah, we understand what you're looking for, but it's going to cost 100 points. And so we said, it was then at that point I said, actually, why are we even doing this in the first place? Why are users trying to upload massive files onto the product? Why? And when I asked that question, I asked the salesperson, why? It was like, yeah, I think they're trying to upload because they need to upload. Like, yeah, but I still don't understand why exactly. What are they trying to achieve? Why are they trying to upload these files? And and then he said, you know what? I'm not really sure I have the right answer to this question. So how about we just go and check with the customer? And so what we did was, instead of just doing a customer interview, because customer interview is, you can really call the customer and talk to them and exchange and try to understand how they do the things they do and why. We decided to go and move in with a customer. If you're not familiar with that concept, it's moving with a customer means that you will actually go to the customer's habitat. So if you're trying to build a transportation, an app, for example, for transport, instead of talking to the customer at the train station, for example, you would actually go from point A to point B with the customer, so that you can see firsthand how the customer interacts with their environment and with the different pain points they have. And so you can understand why they would behave in a certain way as regards your product. And so that was what we did. So we went in, moved in with the customer, and tried to understand why he was trying to upload large amounts of files. And we discovered exactly why. So he basically took us through all of the different touch points during his business hours, and we were able to understand the pain points behind why he was requesting for this feature. And of course, this was just a customer archetype. It was like a persona, really, for the different customers that had exactly the same kind of pain points. And so by the time we understood that, we dug a little bit deeper, and he gave us all of his reasons, and we saw exactly why he needed it. We came back, looked at what the solution was going to be, and in the end, guess what? The solution came back to about 10 points in the end. So about 90 points cut that we would have been doing because we did not really understand the user's pain point. And so after understanding that pain point, why exactly the user was asking for this feature, we're able to do something that was simpler, responded to his need, and was able to help him to get to his to his aim objective faster. So this is very important. Asking this question is very important for you to understand your user's pain points. Secondly, asking why will help you to make the right product decisions. So first, you need to understand the expectations around your product. Why are we building this product in the first place? Why do we have a particular deadline? Why do we have a particular objective? And these are questions that you can ask yourself, and that you can ask anyone that is requesting maybe for even a new feature or a new product. Why are we trying to build it? Okay. And also understanding the importance of your product. Is there a real need for you to do this product? And why is it important to you, to the organization, to the users? Why is it important? And why are we making a change? There is a particular a lead engineer that I work with, and I love the fact that sometimes when we get into a point where things become very complex, he would always ask this question from nowhere: excuse me, why are we doing this again? And sometimes what he does, actually, most of the time, what he does is just throws you off and says, oh, okay, I need to understand why we're doing it, actually. So, because I need to be able to let this person know why we are going through so much complexity, what problem we're actually trying to solve, and why we have to go through so much complexity. And most times what happens is that at the end of the day, we will come up with a solution that will be better, because now we understood why we're trying to make a change. And so this is why it's important also for you to ask these questions to people around you. And also another point is it helps you to define outcomes. When you know why a particular product or a feature is crucial to your company strategy or to your company's vision or mission, it will help you to determine how your product will help to achieve that outcome, or to help to achieve that, that vision or strategy. And also help you to understand why exactly do we need to do it this way, so that we can achieve that outcome that we're looking for. So this will help you to make product decisions when you want to prioritize. If you're trying to prioritize a feature compared to another feature, it will help you to stay focused, because you know why we're actually doing the feature, or you're trying to do a particular product compared to maybe even other products in the company. So third reason, asking why will help to resolve divergence and also achieve convergence. I had recently I was trying to onboard a new PM on the team, and I was telling this person that we work together with a lot of people, are developers, architects, designers, different analysts. So we work with them and we work together. We have workshops together, so that we're sure that we are co-constructing something that will work for the user, and then including also maybe the salespeople, the business, the people that are focused and constantly meeting with the clients. We also include them in there, so that we all have the same vision and we come up with a good solution. Now, what a question that he asked me was that, yeah, but what happens if you all have different ideas and you all have different opinions? How do what happens, if we have like a legal battle? That's what he called it, like a legal battle. I said, okay, wait, first of all, we're not going to have any legal battle because we are all working together. And then I kind of threw back the question to him and said, so what would you do if you had that kind of situation? And he was like, okay, maybe I would try to find, because as the PM, you're actually in the middle of all that, because everybody has different opinions. Now you have to decide what are we going to do. And so I asked him, what would you do? He said, probably would try to look for the solution that would be more or less like a compromise, so that everybody is okay, everybody's happy at the end. Well, I said, well, that's good, but it's not the first step. Maybe the first step would be for you to ask each one of them, why are you thinking, why do you have this opinion? Why for example, maybe the salesperson thinks you have to do it in a particular fashion. Why do you think so? If we have maybe a technical a developer saying that, or the engineer saying that, I would like to do it in this way, I would like to have this technical solution, you have to try to understand, why are you giving us this technical solution? And what usually happens is that sometimes when people are talking like that and they're trying to give their own opinions, they have something at the back of their minds that they're trying to achieve. I'm not saying that they have ulterior motives. I'm saying they have something that they're trying to achieve. For example, an engineer might be trying to achieve maybe improved performance on the page, you know. And so they are thinking if they implement another solution that has been proposed by somebody else, it will increase the performance and will make the page load maybe slower. And so they don't want to do that. They prefer to do another solution. And so they will just tell you, we're going to be doing this solution. And then the other person is not happy and says, no, we cannot, we cannot do the solution. It doesn't work. But when you ask them, why have you decided to choose this solution, technical solution, for example, that way, the different people that are listening, the different people that have the difference of opinions, will be able to understand the reason why he has chosen this solution or chosen this path. And this same question can be asked to any stakeholders, because what you're trying to understand is, what is their motive? Okay. All right. And so this is why it is very important for you to ask, why do you need this? Why exactly is it important for you? Why have we chosen this particular way? I do this also with designers, and it's the same thing. When they present something, I've decided this is how it could look like, the user will go from here and then to this and then next and then next. What I ask is, okay, so why have you chosen the solution and or this design or this user flow? And they would say, oh, because I've seen it here and here, and I discovered that our clients, they're looking for so and so, and so that is why I've decided to propose this kind of design. It helps you to understand and helps for more convergence when we're discussing, and it also helps you to start a discussion. When you start a discussion around why, it helps people to be aligned on a particular goal. So when you say, why is this important to our users? It's not about the person's opinion, it's about why is it important to the users themselves, or why is it important to our company? Why is this a priority for us to do today? And so these questions help us to start thinking so that we all focus and come together towards a common goal. This is important for our users because they need to reduce the time they spend on this application from 10 hours to 5 hours. And this is why it is important for our users. Okay, so now we focus on that goal. We want to reduce the time they spend on the application from 10 hours to 5 hours. So it doesn't have anything to do with opinions. It now has something to do with the common goal, the common problem that we are trying to solve. All right, so now I know that most of you are there thinking, yeah, well, it sounds very easy. Just ask why, and then people are just going to answer you and all that. I know, because it's not always. I told you at the beginning that it's natural to ask why, but when you're a kid, it's natural. But the moment you after you grow, you become an adult, you have a lot of factors that come into play that might help stop us from asking why, and asking these questions that will help us solve problems faster. And these are the ones that I'm just putting forward. I'm sure there are other ones, but just think about it. You might find yourself in such situations when you're confronted with problems and you're afraid to ask why. Sometimes you feel you already know the answer. Sometimes you feel that, oh, I already know why our users need that. I already know why our customers are asking for that. I already know why this salesperson is asking for that, maybe because they just wanna increase their sales. I already know why this technical this engineer is doing that, because he just wants to do whatever he wants, but so sometimes it could stop us from asking why. But at this point, it's really to remove the bias that we might have and say, okay, assuming that I don't know the answer, assuming that I don't know anything, why are you trying to achieve this particular goal? And secondly, sometimes we fear confrontation, because I know that people also will say that, sometimes if you ask why, it looks like you're trying to confront the person. Actually, it's not essentially that. It's not about confronting. It's also in the way you ask. It's how do you ask the why question without looking like you're confronting. When you go to somebody and say, oh, so why do you think you're doing that? I mean, that's not the way you're supposed to ask it. We're talking more about, okay, I would like to understand why. So could you tell me why we're going with this solution instead of that solution, or why this is really important to you that we do it today and not tomorrow? And this is not confrontation. It will help the person to explain, so that you will understand the motives, again, like we said, behind it, so that you'll be able to solve their problems even quicker. And lastly, sometimes you want to go directly to the solution. You want to solve it quickly, and so you want to go to the solution. And remember the story I just told you about when we had basically a solution that we already had that was going to cost us a lot of points. And we could have gone ahead and said, oh, yeah, okay, that's fine, we should go ahead and do it. Let's not waste time because the user needs it right now. But actually taking a step back and taking that time to understand why the user was asking for it helped us to solve it actually quickly in the end, because it didn't take us as much time, but we actually solved the right problem, and the user was happy afterwards because he was able to get his job done. So these are just three that I'm giving here. It doesn't mean these are the only three, but these are the three that I've seen come into play sometimes when we do not ask why. And so lastly, I'm going to talk about how can you start today. And really, believe me, it's very simple. It's simply by practicing asking yourself a why question every day. Asking yourself, why am I doing this? Why am I working on this feature? Why do we need this new functionality? Why do we need this product in the first place? Why are we trying to prioritize this feature compared to another feature? Just asking yourself at least one why question every day, you will start practicing trying to understand why something is needed by someone or even by you also. And also asking your manager. I'm sure a lot of people here have managers. Asking them questions. Why do you think this is why is this the right strategy? Why do you think this has low impact versus another feature? Why? And trying to understand. And the thing is, what usually happens is that people are always willing. People are willing to explain to you, to give you reasons why they're doing things. Especially, I'm talking about professionally, of course. So don't hesitate to also ask your manager even very simple questions. Why a strategy? Why a vision? Why some decisions? Just so that you can have a better understanding. And of course, do the same thing to your team members, designers, engineers, developers, anyone that you're working with. Why have they made a particular design decision? Why have they made a particular technical decision? So that you can understand. And what happens is that when they tell you that, now you know how they think. Now you know a little more about your product. You know a little more about user experience. You know a little more about building technical solutions. And so it is easier for you when next you're interacting with them, so that you can meet them where they are. So what are we taking away from here? We talked about three facts that we have about asking why. It's natural, it's powerful, and it could spark innovation. And the three reasons why you need to ask why is also to get data to find your problem, making the right product decisions, and resolving any divergence and achieving convergence. Some three challenges that could stop you from asking why. Think about this when next you're faced with complexities or problems. Sometimes you feel you already know the answer, and sometimes you fear confrontation. Sometimes you want to go to the solution quickly. Important thing is to hold back and actually just ask a very simple why question. How can you start? Start today. Ask yourself a why question, one at least every day. Ask your managers, ask your colleagues, and then you will be amazed at how much information you're going to gather in so much time, in such a little time. So I will just leave you with this. Start with the why. The fact that I'm talking about why today doesn't mean we don't have other questions like what, how, when, but always start with the why. Start with why are we doing it? And then you can talk about what, so how, and so when, and you could have as many questions as you want. And ask why until you understand. The reason why we're asking why is so that we understand what is behind some requests, some motive, some conflict, for example, complexity. So you need to understand. And so until you understand, ask why. And so I would really encourage you to start this exercise, start doing it even from today, so that you will understand better. Well, that's it, folks. If you want to stay in touch with me, I'm on LinkedIn, on Twitter. I also mentor on Mentor Cruise, and you can follow me also on Medium. And before you go, I would like to relaunch the same poll that I sent, and I would just like you to let me know if you recommend. Yes, Scott. We'll be doing Q&A. So just right after this. So don't go away. Don't go away. Just let me know if you would recommend this to colleagues, and then we would go to question and answer.
Awesome. That's great. Thanks to Tolulope for the great session and talk. Hopefully everybody's got a chance to take a look at that poll while we jump into the Q&A. I know Tolulope would love to have your feedback on the overall session, and we'll also have a poll after this event too that we'll share for more feedback if you didn't get a chance to participate in that one. While we're waiting for some questions to come in, again, people can utilize the Q&A section. Feel free to post your questions that you might have. I'll maybe kick things off with a couple here to kind of to get things started. But I know like discovery is really a foundational like skill set, a really foundational pillar essentially of being a great product manager or a big product leader in a lot of cases. And I'm curious like why you think we struggle with that task. And I know you talked a little bit about why and some of maybe the factors there of like we're worried about confrontation, or we worry we assume maybe we have the right answers. But I'm maybe curious like why you think we have trouble just getting started with it, period.
I think because like I was saying, when we are younger, we're curious. We don't know so much about the world, and so we're curious to know how things work, and so we ask why. Why is this working this way? Why is the train working that way? So we're very curious. But the older we get, we amass a lot of information, a lot of knowledge that we come to a point where we think, oh, we actually know a lot of things, and so we lose that curiosity. And the thing, it's important as a product manager to regain, to get back that curious skill. The curiosity is a very important skill as a product manager, and because sometimes we've lost it, it stops us from discovering new things. And so that's why, like I said, sometimes we think we already know it, and so we need to get back that skill so that we are more curious than how we've been trained or how we've been brought up, because sometimes it's also just an accumulation of the series of experiences in life. And and the other thing also is that again, sometimes we already have the solution in mind, especially if when you become experienced. When somebody comes with a pain point or a question, a problem, you're like, oh, we already know how to solve it. We'll do this, we'll do that. And because it's also a value, that we want to go ahead and solve problems as quickly as possible. And sometimes we have to stop ourselves just in time to say, okay, wait, okay, I might think I have a solution in mind, but why? Why is this problem? Why does it exist in the first place? So that I can understand before I go ahead with the solution. And I think those are just the biases that we have, because that's how we grow in the end as humans. But we need to go to that curiosity that we had before, and to help us to actually find the right problem. And of course, when we're talking about discovery, that's the whole point of discovery. You want to make sure that you are finding the right problem, so that you're solving the right problem and not spending a lot of time and just discovering that you're solving the wrong problem. And for entrepreneurs, finding a product market fit, that is important. And so if you're not solving the right problem, you're not going to get your PMF, and you might have wasted a lot of time and money. So it's very important.
No, that's a great point. Really great point. Like it's interesting because I think the value of the novice mind, I guess, like we sort of maybe anchor ourselves, like you said, in practices and patterns and past experience, and we kind of forget about that sort of the value of that sort of early beginner thinker, open-minded kind of approach on things. I'm going to take one of the questions from the audience here of like, is it ever too late to ask why?
Never.
Okay. And maybe like to maybe elaborate on that, is there like ever a point here where it maybe becomes, I guess, less easy to take in the answers maybe as a product manager? Maybe I think that's maybe maybe I wonder if that's maybe the root of what they're trying to get to here, of like that, at early stages it's kind of easy, but at late stages when you're maybe like far along in your solution and almost getting live and almost ready to ship, that it becomes harder to ask that question. Maybe that's the intention of that.
Yes, yeah. I hope so. The thing is, it's never too late to ask why, and it doesn't matter at what point you're going to be asking why. I mean, it depends on also on the different, I would say, structure, what you're trying to achieve. But let's assume that you are in the process of bringing out a new feature, and you want to be sure that this feature is actually going to be used by your users. And so you want to ask why. Why did they even ask for this in the first place, or why are we doing it in the first place? Because for sometimes when you're in B2C, maybe users are not even asking for anything, you know but you want to ship something out, and so you need to understand and ask yourself, why are we shipping this out? And the beauty of that is it also helps you to set up the right KPIs so that you can measure that by the time that feature is shipped. And
Yeah.
so even before it's shipped, you want to ask, okay, why are we trying to ship it? So that we can set up those metrics so that we can measure that once it's shipped, and we can be sure that actually our objectives have been met. And so and for that, if you have maybe now a mature product, and you've had the product for a long time, and now you're asking yourself why. Asking yourself why will also help you to know what features you need to kill. And I think we don't talk about this enough. We need to know how to kill features. And killing features means you're asking, why do we need this feature? Why is it being used? Why is it not being used? Why are users asking for it or not asking for it? And that will help you to know, okay, do we kill this feature? Do we keep it around or not? And so it's really never too late, whether you're at the discovery beginning stage, whether you're rediscovering new user experiences, so to say, whether you are trying to maintain your product, it's never ever too late.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great point. One of my favorite ways to kill features is sometimes just to turn them off and just see
Yeah,
what
and
happens.
see,
If
yeah,
does
exactly.
anybody actually notice? Like,
Yeah, exactly. You're
does
right.
anybody see the forest fall in the tree, or the tree fall in the forest, so to speak? How have you overcome the inertia of getting teams to undertake discovery work and ask why? And I think part of the reason why I'm asking this is it's easy for us sometimes as product leaders to take that initial step and try to model the behavior, but sometimes there's a reluctance within our product teams themselves to kind of model that same behavior and take on some of those practices. Like, how have you overcome that? How have you gotten motion in your teams towards that behavior?
Yeah, it's quite funny because it really, a few days ago I was thinking, it's sometimes it's really hard to model a culture. It doesn't even matter what kind of culture it is as a leader. It's quite difficult to model, especially when you have teams, or when teams begin to grow, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so what I do most of the time is I start myself, saying, if somebody comes to me and says, oh, we're going to be doing this cool solution, it's going to be nice and it's going to be very great for the user and everybody's happy with it, okay, cool. So I start with the why question myself. So wait, why are we doing this in the first place? And they have to then explain to me why they've decided to do it, why we're doing it, why they've chosen a particular solution. And they will proceed to explain to me, oh, okay, all right. And sometimes when I hear, oh, and so person, or maybe somebody, maybe a salesperson, a business person, or somebody said something, and so that's why we decided to do this. And I would say, okay, did you ask him why he wanted that to be done that way? you know and then they're like, oh yeah, I actually don't know. Okay, would you like to go ahead and find out? Yeah, why not? And then they would go ahead and find out, and then they would come back to me and say, oh, you know what, it's really amazing, because I found out why this person was requesting for something like this. And now I have a better understanding, and we've decided, based on that, to remove something or reprioritize so that we can have something that more suits the user's needs. And so this is, for me, it sounds very simple, but I've seen it help in tremendous ways, because then I don't have to tell them, oh, you should do it this way, you should do it that way, you should do it this way. They would actually go ahead and find it out themselves. So next time they won't, when next time, and this is what happens next time, when they're coming to me and say, oh, so we've decided to do this and we decided to do that. Oh, and why we've decided to do that is because A, B, C, D. And so they already have their why question, why, the reasons prepared. And most of the time I don't have anything to say, because it makes sense. They already did their homework, and they have all the answers. So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really awesome. Thank you again, Tolulope, for all the time today. I really, really appreciate it. I'm going to wrap things up here. I'm going to kick over just to a few closeout slides, if you don't mind, and we'll get things kind of wrapped up for today's event.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. And thank you very much, everyone, for joining us
Thank
today.
you. Thank you. So just to wrap up on a couple things here overall, we do have a post-event survey. You'll receive that after the event. Welcome you to please fill it out. We've got some survey post-event swag and gifts we'll give away to people that contribute to part of that. So please help out. If you want to continue the discussion on any of the topics from today, feel free to create a post and share your comments or questions post-event inside our community. We've also got some other events coming up weekly. Every Thursday, we run events here in the community, but also some events that we're doing here at Productboard as well. Next Thursday, we have Karina Stukin speaking on Show Me the Data, which is a great event on sort of working with data as a product manager. We've also got an event on the 23rd with 3 great product leaders, Aaron Trumbull from Thinkific, Petro Ville from Europe, who's one of a really fantastic product coach that we've had on before, and Misha Abasov from Rise, speaking on how to sharpen your product management skill sets. And then we've also got an event on February 24th with Hubert Palin, our CEO here at Productboard, who'll be diving into product discovery, customer centricity, and product excellence. We've got lots of other events planned as well, continuing every month, and lots of ways in which you can also get involved here in the community as well. Please make sure you check out some of our roundtable sessions. We do these the second Wednesday of each month. We've also got our Meter Maker program, which allows you to connect one-on-one with other people in the community. And we've got lots of opportunity as well for other people to participate as speakers. In particular, we're really interested in encouraging first-time speakers, maybe those that have been underrepresented, to kind of sign up and participate in these kind of sessions, to put up your hand and get involved. You can check out information about that again within our community. So thank you everybody much for joining today. Really, really appreciate you coming out, and hope you found today's session informative and that it helped you a lot in terms of being better at the work that you do. Thanks again. Appreciate you joining, and we will talk soon.